Hello, welcome to Iirc. Today we're at Lincoln's Inn Field in London to talk to Paul Druckmann, who heads up the Iirc, which is the International Integrated Reporting Council. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
If you found this video, it probably means that you're already familiar with the Iirc and their work. If not, I wonder if I could ask Paul to give us a brief synopsis of the organisation's work.
The key to me is that the Iirc is a coalition of partners. So on our council, and those that are responsible for creating the Iirc includes most of the corporate reporting organisations in the world. So what is integrated reporting? I'd break it down into an integrated report and integrated reporting, if you don't mind. Because I think it's important to understand that what we're about in the main is integrated reporting, but the outcome of that is an integrated report. A concise communication of value over time. Okay. And each of those words are quite important. You know, we're the concise piece because we're used to, there's complexity and volume of reporting that comes out at the moment. Communication because it needs to be understandable and clear. And value because what we're looking at is the value of the company, not just the transactions that happen within it or elsewhere. And that concise communication of value is based on the strategy of the organisation, its governance that's involved in it, and other aspects like its prospects and its performance. But let me be clear that an integrated report is not a summary of or a précis of the other reports. It is this concise communication of value in its own right over those four main areas. I think the other aspect I'd pick up on that's quite specific to what we're doing is around the fact that our primary audience, I wouldn't say our sole audience, but our primary audience are the providers of financial capital.
Paul, what type of organisations is it that the Iirc is reaching out to? Is it mainly those that are involved in work such as extractions or manufacturing that produces high volumes of waste, or is integrated reporting relevant to all types of organisations?
We talk about 6 capitals, but you could bring them into 3 sections. So there's financial and manufactured, which is predominantly around financial reporting and financial capital. Then there's natural and social, which is really the sustainability piece that you're talking about. And then there's intellectual and human capital, which is more about the intangibles. Right? Again, intangibles not in an accounting sense, but in this sense. And I think that what we've got to appreciate is that we are across, integrated reporting is across all of those capitals. Now what that means is that integrated reporting is just as applicable to an extraction industry organisation, company, as it is to a services company. Our pilot companies include 2 of the largest software houses in the world, SAP and Microsoft. Now SAP and Microsoft, the value of those businesses is in their people and in their software. Where is that represented in their value creation story? Okay. So it's just as important to service industry as it is to extraction, is the point I'm trying to make.
Are there any examples of an ideal framework or a toolkit which we can point viewers to, those that are interested in taking this on board and implementing it? Where can they look to find a toolkit, for want of a better expression?
Okay, well, I hope that this can be useful, because what we have is it's called the Emerging Practices Database, right, which you can get to through our website, and it's free as well. So, the idea is to explain. I think the key thing, though, is I wouldn't call it an examples database. We've been quite clear how we've labelled it, because it isn't necessarily good examples of integrated reporting. What it is it's taken up lots of annual reports of major companies and some smaller ones and said which elements of their annual report are the sorts of things that we would expect to see in integrated reporting. So you might have a large report and there'll be certain pieces of it that will say, oh, this is one of our key guiding principles, or here is a content element that would normally be in an integrated report. So I would say we've got the Emerging Practices Database now. There are you'll get a lot from that because you can slice and dice it. But actually coming later will be more what I would call best practice. At the moment we haven't got that.
Paul, who have been the early adopters of integrated reporting?
Integrated reporting is not new.
Sure.
It's been there for years.
Okay.
It's just it wasn't called it, and the time wasn't right. And wherever I go, I find more and more examples of actually, they may not call it integrated reports, but they're pretty close to what we're aiming at. Going back to my inspirational chairman, he talks about the fact that there's never such a good time as when the time is right. So you can have a great idea, but if it's not the right time, it will just fall down, you know, the sort of adoption level chasm. Integrated reporting, the time is now right.
Paul, is it your long-term hope that IR will eventually become mandatory, and if not, why not?
Okay, it's one of the hardest questions to answer simply. One of the things that I've seen is that mandatory implementation has unintended consequences. And a lot of those unintended consequences are rigidity. And, you know, people talk about a tick box type culture. That is exactly the opposite of what we want to promote. To date, we have been absolutely straight that what we're looking for is a market-driven implementation of integrated reporting. I think if mandatory adoption comes either too early or at some stage in the cycle when it's not ready, we will not achieve what we want to achieve, which is better reporting, not more reporting. You know, if integrated reporting is yet another report onto the company for another stakeholder, we have really lost the plot and we've got it wrong. If we could get mandatory implementation that worked without the unintended consequences, then that would be fine. But I'm very nervous of it.
Paul, thank you for giving us such an interesting insight into your work. This is all from VLearn for now, and we'll see you on the next session.